Hi, everyone. Welcome to Art and Talk's Impression Show. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm Leslie Sue, the host for Art and Talk. So today on Impression, we have a UK singer-songwriter who is also a producer, and we'll be diving into his journey as a musician. And as you know, if you've been watching Impression for a while, Impression is where we present an opportunity for an artist to present an overview or an impression of their art while also highlighting one area of their art as well. It's Art and Talk's new adjunct video series. All right, so our guest for today, in addition to, as mentioned, being a singer-songwriter and producer in the UK, he also has a sound that works within the indie pop style, and his music has been described as that feel-good music, that chill in the park, Sunday cruising type of music. So in addition to an overview of his music, he'll also be performing an original song for us. We'll be looking at his album cover of his recent album that's called Daylight Sipping, and we'll find out what that's all about. Again, thank you so much for being with us. If you're new to Art and Talk, welcome. If you've been watching us for a while, thank you so much for your continued support. I'd like to welcome our guest for today, Matt Ellis of Burlington Sound. Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here. All right, so um, Burlington Sound, even you have the name Sound as your, in your music as your name. Talk to us about the sounds of life that you like to explore in your music and what's important to you, and also about the message through your music as well.
Yeah, so I came up with the name. Well, predominantly what I release music under is just Burlington, but Burlington Sound because there's a lot of other things just Burlington. But so from growing up with my dad's music, I was listening to the Eagles, Crowded House, Bob Dylan, all truthful, those truthful elements of their music. They didn't live in an age of computers where you could produce any music, any sound you wanted on a computer. They had to make it, they had to perform it, and I wanted to try and bring that into my sort of music and sort of still keep it relevant and keep it modern. And so from learning guitar from a young age, I try to bring a lot of that influence in. So really nice feeling, happy feeling chords. When I have a sadder sort of song, I'll use those sort of melancholic chords. But otherwise, yeah, it's just growing up in South Africa, which is where I'm from originally. Growing up by the beach, it's a very laid back lifestyle, and I want my music to still portray that. I don't want it to be too complicated. I don't want it to be too in your face. But at the same time, I still want people to enjoy it and use it for, like you said, chilling in the park or on those long drives, or just even jamming out in your house. That's pretty much the idea about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a very like down to earth kind of flavor to it. And as you're saying, and you just wanted to keep it kind of uncomplicated and simple and to feel good with. But you also touch upon, in some respects, Matt, some deep lyrics. I mean, in terms of looking at challenging emotions or perhaps a challenging experience, or something of that nature, but you do present it in a very light way. It doesn't have like a heaviness, like sonically, it still has that like upbeatness and almost like that feeling like, yeah, you're going to get through it. Like, yeah, this is something
Yeah.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. That's I I I struggled writing for a while, to be honest. I only started the Burlington project around sort of the first when COVID actually just sort of started hitting the pandemic. So, and that's where I really got time to sit down and focus on writing and getting better at my writing. And pretty much every song that you hear of mine is either a personal experience or an experience of someone very close to me. So I think that's what gives it sort of the homeliness feel still, and yeah, it makes it's easily relatable. So yeah, I'm enjoying that part of it.
And you play guitar, both acoustic and electric, and you also play keyboards. Are there any other instruments?
So at the moment, if you see that one there with the neck there, that's the bass guitar that I bought recently.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't say mastered, but I've gotten pretty good at the acoustic and the electric guitar. The keyboard, like you mentioned, the keyboard and the piano, I taught myself how to play. And then the bass guitar is something I need to try and master next. So that's next on the list. And I play the ukulele, so little guitar. So that's great. That's good fun.
And talk to us about daylight sipping. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. Tell us what that's about, Matt.
So this started when I started Burlington. I released two different EPs. So just one was 5 tracks and one was 4 tracks, and that was me trying to sort of discover my sound. And then I had a whole bunch of songs that I'd written in between that, and never really sort of found what I should do with them. And then I sat down for a while, and I thought, I'm missing summer. The UK can be very rainy a lot of the time, unfortunately. As you can see by the picture there, I mean, someone lying in a field surrounded by beautiful flowers, with the sun on them. So it was a perfect. I saw this photo actually, and it's a photo of my girlfriend's sister's fiance, funny enough, and it made me think, wow, this is a song that this is a picture that I want to base my album around almost. And I didn't have to force songs for the picture. Songs just seemed to fall onto this picture and work quite well. So um, I started off with a few influences, like artists at the moment that are quite big that I listen to, Sam Fender, and I've listened to the band 1975, both UK-based bands, like quite indie alternative. And I've tried to sort of mimic their guitar sounds and in that sort of aspect, because I really, really love those sort of sounds that they produce. And they're quite summery and they're quite uplifting. And the songs just happen to sort of come when I found those guitar sounds and sounds that I wanted. These songs just seemed to come, and I had lots to write about, which is great. The one song I when I was visiting my parents in Cape Town in South Africa, I wrote a song there, which was so it's not just in this room. I'm writing songs elsewhere and then coming back and recording in this room. But the whole idea about daylight sipping is just being in the sun. You either being on holiday, being at home, and you're in the garden. You might have a few beers, some glasses of wine, and the album is a focus around that with the sun. You might have a barbecue going, and you can just have this in the background. And so yeah, that was the aim that I went for. So, and I felt like I got pretty close.
Yeah, I love the whole vibe that you created around the daylight sipping, and I love the use of your wording too. I think this would be a great time to have you perform. You're going to be performing Summer's Calling, is that right?
Yes, I'm going to perform Summer's Calling. I've been practicing. Perfect. All right. So this is Summer's Calling. It's pretty much exactly what the title says. It's Summer's calling. It's on its way. We're getting excited, and it was probably is probably the most playful song with the lyrics that I wrote, talking about putting on suntan lotion and whatnot. So yeah, this is it. Summer finds a different way to drown your fears inside, to drown your fears inside. I was hoping that someday I could lose this shine, I could lose this shy guy. 'Cause we are just naive kids on the path of life, trying to fight through this, trying to fight through this. We're gonna find our way down to the ocean where we belong. Get you back the lotion, 'cause I didn't, and I know you
too well. Can you make sure that you get the motion? 'Cause if you don't, then there's no hope, and I will be more red than your acrylic nails. Here we're holding on to life. Let's leave it all behind. Let's leave it all behind. I know that we must have a plan, but I'm so tired of mine. But I'm so tired of mine. 'Cause we are just naive kids on the back of life, trying to fight through this, trying to fight through this. We're gonna find our way down to the ocean where we belong. Did you pack a lotion? 'Cause I didn't, and I know you too well. Can you make sure that you get the motion? 'Cause if you don't, then there's no hope, and I will be more red than your acrylic nails. Did you pack a lotion? 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 We're gonna find our way down to the ocean where we belong. Did you pack a lotion? 'Cause I didn't, and I know you too well. Can you make sure that you get the motion? 'Cause if you don't, then there's no hope, and I will be more red than your acrylic nails. Can we find our way down to the ocean? Let's sail away 'cause we're devoted. Oh, can you make sure that you get the motion? 'Cause if you don't, then there's no hoping. Oh, the summer's calling. That's it.
And that was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let me just quickly switch over the...
All right, I think I am back to normal. All right, can you still hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, that was so awesome. And I like that you kind of like you vacillate lyrically speaking, Matt, between, like, for example, in this song, like Summer's Coming, which is so perfect, as you know, those of us in the northern hemisphere are, you know, really getting into the, as you were saying, like the swing of summer. You kind of like vacillate between, like, you know, as I was saying earlier, some kind of like deeper lyrics. I mean, you're saying, like, you know, the ocean, we're going back where we belong, and being like kids, being naive, and about fears and like letting go. I mean, there's this, you know, kind of exploring some, you know, deeper subjects, but then you balance it out so beautifully by like, did you bring the lotion, you know, and kind of having that light, you know, kind of airy feel. I'm wondering, can you touch upon your writing, sing, song style, as well as, you know, your lyrics and how they fit in there, and how do you kind of approach your whole musical style?
So I think how I really got my songwriting to a better level was listening to a lot of Ed Sheeran's sort of stuff. He does the same sort of thing where he has the deep, but then also the playful. And so how it works for me really is I can write lyrics, you know, just with a tune will come in my head, and I can start writing lyrics. And sometimes those lyrics that I'll only use them maybe in the future. I'll come back to them and find them. But I find my best writing is when I come up with a song on my acoustic guitar, and I come up with the chords, and then I start writing from there. And it's strange. I never go in with an idea of, okay, I'm going to write about this. It's always the first line that comes out, of me just singing sort of flows from there, and I probably write the first verse very quickly within a minute or two, and then from there, the chorus. If the chorus doesn't come straight away, I'll put it aside for a bit. But if the chorus comes quite quickly for me, I will then sit down and I'll start recording something. And sometimes I'll finish the song and I'll be like, oh, it was about this, and then I'll listen to it, and then I'll release it, and then someone will come to me and say, "Oh, this means this to me," and I'll think, stop and think about it for a second. I'll be like, you know what? Subconsciously, I'm pretty sure that's what I was meaning as well. So it's really interesting to hear different perspectives from different people's ideas and relating to it, which is fun. That's the fun part about songwriting, I guess.
And that's a really interesting process, Matt, that you just shared. So it's not like you necessarily have a subject matter. You said sometimes a melody might be kind of tinkering around, but you really get out your guitar and you have a couple chords, and then that chorus comes out, and then it seems like that just flows out of you, and then everything kind of takes shape. However, if the verse doesn't come, as you were saying, then you kind of put it aside, like you really kind of trust almost like this inner process that's going to be organically coming through you, and then it kind of comes to fruition through sharing it with other people, as
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're completely right. I mean, it's weird. I can almost, especially for myself, I can feel when something feels like it's gonna work. And I mean, I've had writer's block, and I feel like I'm trying to scale a 30-foot wall, finding these lyrics, but when it actually comes through and it works, you think, wow, this can actually be a really easy process. When it just works. It's just one of those days.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any thing that you do in terms of when you get that writer's block? Is that, Matt, when you just kind of put it aside and say, okay, I'm going to come back to it when everything feels like it's lined up? Or do you have any like little tips and tricks that kind of help you kind of push through that?
So what I normally like to do, yeah, either I'll put it aside and leave it for the day if I've been trying for a while. Otherwise, I love playing other people's music. So I love covering a lot of other artists, and I love playing their music. And I'll probably just sit and then listen and then play their style, or I'll try maybe learn a new song, just get out of that sort of mindset. And then sometimes I find myself tinkering with another artist's chords, and that's where I find my next song in between those chords. And that seems to work the best for me. Ever since I released this album, I haven't written much, to be honest. That it almost felt like it took a lot out of me trying to release it, because I'm writing the songs from on a guitar. I used to write in a book. Now I just type on my laptop the lyrics. And from there, going to recording, and then adding in all the different instruments, playing the piano, overlaying it with guitar, electric guitar, and then I go and mix this music so it sounds all, the levels sound good, or all that, and then I go and master it myself as well. So by the time I've released it, I've listened to the song maybe 100 times. So it takes a lot out of me, and I need to just sort of embrace other music, the music that I love, for a bit, and then so hopefully I'll start writing again soon. And I wouldn't say I have writer's block at the moment. I would say just a little bit of a rest, maybe exhaustion, writer's exhaustion.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully soon I'll get some more things going. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's a very intensive process for you, because you're kind of doing everything from A to Z, in terms of singing, the songwriting, the producing. And as you're saying, you're hearing it over and over, and then kind of breaking it up with listening to music and musicians that inspire you, and hearing those chords, and kind of, pulling everything, together in that respect. So right now you're just kind of like in that kind of like feel good mode, and then kind of moving towards some more writing at the right moment.
Exactly. So I've got a show that I'm playing next week, Saturday. It's the first show that I'm playing since I've released the album. So that'll be good. I'm excited to play a few of the new songs, which will be fun.
Mhm.
And it's sort of an outdoor summer stage, right in the heart of London. So I'm quite excited for that.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
exciting. And now you mentioned that's some new songs, Matt. So that is that kind of still moving into the flavor of that sort of chill in the park, kind of feel good vibe.
Yeah. So I still want to keep that sort of that happy go lucky, just driving down the freeway or sitting in a park or sitting in your back garden sort of style. I guess I've tried to find a way to describe it. I feel like that's the best way. Um, so just something when the sun's out, sunglasses on, you can be happy. That's pretty much how I like to describe my music.
Yes, yes, I think that describes it really well. And your voice is so soulful and has just this beautiful, almost like smooth kind of sailing feel to it that really helps, I think, sonically, along with the rest of the music and lyrics and whatnot, really brings to fruition that whole vibe of life and movement and joy and play and nature, because there's a lot of references in your lyrics to nature and that kind of like playfulness. And you mentioned the sun a lot, which I think is appropriate for the name of the album as well. So yeah, I think you definitely create that vibe. And I just want to say that I think that that's such a wonderful service, and I think that's something, because it is encouraging and provides hope and whatnot. I do think that that's something that is certainly needed now. So I think that's a wonderful service that you provide to provide that type of encouragement and hope.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we still have a moment, Matt. Can you talk to us about since you are a producer as well, perhaps musicians that are watching that may want to get a little bit of tips and tricks in terms of producing? Can you share with us with that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, it was the whole classic motto: practice makes perfect. It was just putting my head down, trying. I mean, it's frustrating. Producing can be very frustrating. You can't find the right sound. You can't edit the voice as good as you want. Um, so, I mean, I credit a lot of my learning to actually to watching videos on YouTube and sort of studying that way, if you will. I did do a year's course of sound production back in South Africa in 2015, I think it was. So it was, no, 2014. So it was quite a long time ago, and that sort of laid the base for me. But I had a lot of learning to go from there. So I would say any up and coming producers or artists, YouTube videos are your friend. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of great blogs out there that you can read as well. So yeah, that's where I would say go find your information and just take your time. It's it can't be built like Rome can't be built in one day. So it's that whole aspect of things. It's practice, practice, practice.
Is there somewhere that you want to take your music to? Like in other words, Matt, do you have a certain um, direction or goals, or is that immaterial to you? We have a good foundation of your style and whatnot, but is there, where do you want to move in the direction in terms of your music?
So like you said, I'm happy with the style and what I'm making. Ideally what I want to do is start playing a bit more shows. That would be great, getting a bit more out there. But I think my sort of end goal, if you could call it, I love songwriting. So I would really like to get into songwriting more, writing for other artists, um, and just exploring that side of me more, because I've really grown to enjoy that. As much as I enjoy producing and playing and all that, I think songwriting is where it's at for me. So hopefully I can steer myself into that direction a bit more. And it's a difficult industry, so to find those niches and stuff like that, it's difficult. So just got to keep plugging away.
Yeah. Any final words for musicians that might be watching? Little some advice you could share?
Sure. If you haven't, go check me out, Burlington, on all streaming platforms. And yeah, just don't. I would say to all the musicians, I went through a stage of being so nervous to just release anything, and I wouldn't say release anything, but I'd say go to your friends and family and ask them honest advice. They'll be honest with you. And just if they are happy with what you've done and they say it's great, take that leap and release it, and you'll feel like a burden's been lifted. That's how I felt. So yeah, that's what I would do if I was thinking. If I wasn't so sure of myself, I would do that, which is what I did. So yeah.
Matt, it's been so awesome to connect with you, and wishing you a great summer. You have this gig coming up. I hope that we'll hear about some more. And
Yes.
Also with your songwriting, that sounds like, is a big passion of yours, and just everything coming together for you musically and in the direction that you want to go with. Best wishes for you, Matt.
Perfect. Thank you, Leslie.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching Impression. We appreciate the time you take to watch our shows. If you are an artist and you're interested in being on Art and Talks Impression, just send an email to viewoftheartist@gmail.com, and we'll get back to you with scheduling and information. Please stay connected with us on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. Please like, follow, and subscribe. We appreciate your support, and hope everyone's having a good summer. And we'll talk soon on the next Impression. Until then, be well and be blessed.